what is the difference between religion and spirituality? Well, I think that spirituality is the heart of religion. So we have religious practitioners, persons who adhere to a certain belief system, dogma, and so forth, and conduct themselves such that what constitutes a morally upright life in any particular tradition. And this is the greater balance of people who are um, uh, members of a particular tradition, whether it be the Christian tradition or the Islamic tradition, the Hindu tradition, so on. But there's a smaller sector, which is the mystics. And I would classify them as spiritual, being in a spiritual, experiential status, as opposed to a social religious status. Now, the social religious adherence to the religious doctrines of any particular tradition are meant to gradually, over time, qualify us for and acquaint us with inner life. In other words, it's one thing to be a religious human, it's another thing to realize that I'm more than a human. My humanity is one thing, what I am is another thing. Can we live a human life in such a way that will foster realization and understanding of what I am that constitutes more than being human? That's the religious life when properly pursued. Therefore, for example, we find within the Hindu tradition the idea that it is said atato dharma jignasu with relation to human life. Human life is the time to adhere to, inquire about religion. After that, it said, having thoroughly inquired and pursued a religious life, atato brahma jignasu. Now is the time to inquire about spirit, about the nature of the self, the inner life, the atma. So one, the former, should lead to the latter. But unfortunately, that's not always what happens, right? And so we find the Jews the Jewish community at the time didn't recognize Jesus of Nazareth, who was within their religion, if you will, but was a mystic. It was his adherence to the faith was unrecognizable to them. So this is an instance in which, and there are many of them, wherein the religious life has not been conducted or pursued in such a way that it begets deep spiritual understanding. And it becomes then an excuse for bigotry and narrow-mindedness and so on, which are really just contradictory to actual, genuine spirituality, ego-effacing spirituality. I think one of the beautiful things about Hinduism is that there are so many mystics, and it's written in the texts, as I've quoted, that from Dharma Jignasu we should come to Brahma Jignasu. So it leaves less room for there to be doubt and less room to misconstrue the mystic as being contradictory to what we're teaching, right? I used to give lectures in the United States in Chicago many years ago within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and there was a couple that a Presbyterian, I believe it was husband with a Catholic wife who had recently moved to the Chicago area and had a congregation in the Presbyterian Church. The husband was the minister there, but his wife used to see the devotees in and about the neighborhood. She was fascinated by them, so she used to come to the temple. And I was giving a lot of lectures at that time there, and she was very taken by my lectures. And then she would take the strong, essential, experiential spirituality type of perspective, pushing on some measure of renunciation rather than religion for material acquisition and so forth. She'd take those ideas, she'd share them with her husband. And so he started to factor them into his lectures. But the community then became upset with the priest, the pastor, and complained to the bishop. And lo and behold, the bishop transferred him to the Bahamas. So, this is an example of how the religious orientation has failed, if you will, in delivering its adherents to the very heart of the tradition. It's a little harder for that to happen within Hinduism, as I say, because it's so clearly pointed out, but it happens nonetheless. It does happen. You'll find then the adherents to one religion with a social religious orientation and those of another tradition are often in conflict with one another over small things, dress, the nature of the ritual, whether there's a deity or not, whether there's a picture or not. I mean, you can even find it within Christianity. Within Catholicism, we have all the icons and the pictures, and there's the role of Mary and so on and so forth. And then in the Protestantism, a lot of that's taken out and considered deviant, and so on. What speak of the differences between the customs within Islam and Hinduism, or Hinduism and Christianity, and so on and so forth. But these kind of differences are not issues for the mystics in each of these traditions. For the mystics within Hinduism, the Tyagis, the sannyasins, the Abhaduts, and then the Sufis within, let's say, Islam, or the Catholic mystics, saints, and so forth. You find so much common ground. They're not fighting with one another over such details. Bhaktivinoda Thakur spoke to us about this when he advocated becoming a Saragrahi Vaishnava, an essence-seeking Vaishnava, to seek the essence and the spirit that the law is meant to promote, rather than adherence to the law at the cost of the spirit. He had the two terms, Saragrahi and Bharabahi. Bharabahi is one who carries the burden of these of the dogma and sectarian considerations, which doesn't have to be negative. You might be in a particular sect and we dress like this and conduct ourselves like that. That can be a positive for the sect. But when it becomes the essence of the tradition, then you're carrying a heavy burden, and misconstruing, misidentifying details with principles. So to sort this out, what are the principles? What's the spiritual substance? What's the form? What's the substance? So the form is good. It has its place. But if it is misunderstood to be the substance, if the social religious orientation is thought to be the be-all and end-all of spiritual life, then it becomes problematic, and it doesn't become a doorway or a window through which one can enter the heart of the tradition and experience what spirituality is all about. The more that we are, then human life, if you will, limits us to.